Today's episode was inspired by a conversation that I had with one of my most amazing clients recently. And by the way, if you're a client and you're listening, don't message me and say, were you talking about me? I get this all the time. I'm never going to tell you if it was you because I don't want people to be self-conscious when I'm around them. But let me set the stage here. We were talking, me and this client, about some challenges that they were facing with their team. And as we began to dig into this thing, it became very clear that the issue was not leadership capability. It wasn't talent. It was consistency. Specifically, let me say it this way, the gap between what was being said and what was actually being enforced. This is what I had observed. And, as we started to talk through this dynamic, I shared something with them that I want to share with you all today because I think we can all fall victim to this for various reasons. Because this is a moment that every leader faces. A moment that will either build your credibility or it's going to slowly erode your credibility. And if you're listening and you are a people pleaser, you don't even want to put this one on 2x speed. You want to slow this one down because this one is definitely for you. Because here's what I know. Credibility as a leader is not built over years. It's revealed in moments of leadership. And most leaders don't lose credibility in this big, grandiose, dramatic failure type of way. They lose it in the small moments that they didn't think mattered.
This is the Champion Forum podcast with Jeff Hancher, the forum for leaders, champions, and dreamers.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Man, it is an honor and a privilege to serve you with this podcast. Man, I am on such a mission in this life to serve others and help other leaders make big leadership impact, and I am just honored that you are on this journey with us. Man, we got another topic today that I hope it stirs you up a little bit. I hope it has you looking inside and saying, man, is Jeff talking to me again today? Because here's what we know. The leaders that own the discomfort, that are willing to look inside, are willing to admit some self-awareness and take action, these are the leaders that are going to grow into great big impact. And that's what the goal is. Because, look, every leader, they want credibility, true? If you're listening and I say, hey, do you want some leadership credibility? You bet I do, Jeff. You want your team to trust you. You want that team to follow you into battle. You want your team to respect the decisions that you make. But credibility is not something that you can just go into the team meeting and declare, I will be credible. No, it's something that your team is going to decide. And they are not going to decide this based off of the title on your business card. They're going to decide it based on how you show up in moments. And I'm talking about key moments. I'm talking about leadership defining moments. There's a moment that every leader faces over and over again. It's the moment when a tough conversation needs to happen. It's the moment when a standard is violated, when someone underperforms, when somebody disrespects you publicly, or some level of tension begins to enter the room. And it's in that moment that every leader listening, you have a choice. You address it or you avoid it. And that decision in that moment of time, is either going to build your credibility or it's going to quietly erode it in that very moment. Man, that's a high stakes game, isn't it? You all have probably seen this before, right? A parent, we've seen those parents at the grocery store or maybe even at the family reunion. Hey, maybe you're that parent right now. If you are, I don't even know. But hey, this might be one you need to listen to. I'm talking about that parent that says to their child, don't make me count to 3. Their child's misbehaving. I'm going to start counting. I'm going to count to 3. And then it starts. Oh boy, 1, 2, 2.5, 2 3/4. Oh, we're getting close. We're getting close. And everyone that's watching knows the truth. If you have to count, you have already lost leverage. You've already lost leverage. Because what that child is learning in that moment is not obedience. They're learning how far that they can push the button before anything is even going to happen. And a lot of times, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of times when that parent gets to 3, nothing happens anyway. Well, we're just trying to get a rise out of people here. I don't even know what the whole purpose of counting is. And here's some hard truth. And by the way, if you parent that way, I love you and you're welcome. I just saved your parenting legacy. Stop counting to 3. Leaders sometimes do the same thing, but it's in a different fashion. Because we're not going to start counting to grown adults, right? But the concept is absolutely the same. By the way, can you imagine doing that? Get in the conference room. We have a training. 1, 2. What are we doing, right? Here's how counting sounds in the adult world. Hey, we need to hit our deadlines, everybody. Hey, that kind of behavior is not acceptable in this workplace. Hey, I expect better communication from you. But then it doesn't happen. You start counting. You start counting. How's counting look? You delay, you wait, you hope it fixes itself, and your team is learning something from you. They're learning actually the exact same thing that the child is learning from the parent that's counting to 3. How far can I push before this actually even matters? And let me talk about, let's drill in. Y'all got me all worked up on this episode. Let me tell you why this matters for your leadership impact. Your team is always watching how you respond when it counts most. Not when things are easy, not when things are going well, but when something is off. This is the moment for a leader to rise and shine. Because in those moments, they're asking some questions. They're asking, hey, does that leader really mean what they're saying right now? And don't they have to ask that question? But let's talk about where the leader starts losing the credibility. Because credibility does not just disappear overnight. It erodes over time. It erodes when you give multiple warnings with no action. It erodes when you delay the hard conversation that you know that you need to be having. Your credibility is going to erode when you tolerate what you said you wouldn't tolerate. You told the whole team meeting, we're not tolerating this anymore. And then what do? You tolerate it. Not you listening, because I know that you guys are elite that listen to this show. But pass this on to somebody that needs to hear it. Not because your team is bad. It's because your follow-through is inconsistent. But there can be a shift here. Strong leaders don't count to 3. True? We all know this is true. Strong leaders don't count to 3. They don't threaten. They don't repeat themselves endlessly. They address things early. They address things very clearly and consistently. And by the way, early, clear, and consistent. Is that mean? No. It's fair. Here's some application for you. And let's make this really practical for all of us, including me. And here's the challenge that I want you to think about even today. First, can you identify one situation right now where you've been counting to 3? You've said something, but you didn't enforce it. Do you have any of that going on right now? Identify this one thing. You know, this is the thing that you've addressed. You talked about it, but you never followed through. And if this has happened, you already know what it is. And once you have this one thing, the next thing that I want you to do is decide. Make a decision on what the expectation actually is going to be. So we got this thing, and now I'm going to think deeply about this expectation because I'm about to put this thing into law. I'm about to put this thing into motion. Not vaguely, clearly. What does good look like? What is acceptable and what isn't? What is this expectation? And then third, you got to have the conversation. You got to do it, uncomfortable or not. It's got to happen. And here's a simple little way to say it. You say, hey, Brad, listen, I want to let you know. I want to revisit something that we talked about. And this matters. And I haven't been clear or consistent the way that I need to be. So moving forward, here is the expectation. It's black and white, zero gray. This is what it is. State whatever that expectation is and make it very clear. Calm? Yeah. Direct? Absolutely. Firm? No question about it. No emotion. No over-explaining. And finally, you got to follow through. You have to follow through. This is where the credibility matters most. And when I say follow through, I'm not talking about being harsh. I'm certainly not talking about being emotional, but I am talking about being consistent. Because credibility is not built in what you say in this magic moment. It's built in what you reinforce after the moment has passed. The expectation's just the beginning. How you reinforce that expectation, that's where credibility is built or it's lost. And some of you are thinking this maybe, so let's just talk about it. Jeff, I don't know. I don't want to come off too strong. That's not really my style. Can I just challenge that for a minute? Clarity is not harsh. Clarity is not harsh. Consistency is not mean. In fact, the most frustrating thing for a team is not having a high standard. Whether they're telling you that or not, it's true. What does frustrate a team is unclear standards. We don't know where we stand. Your team doesn't need you to count to 3. They don't. They need you to mean what you say. This is a great way to build a healthy culture. Ask yourself a couple questions to see where you stand on this. Ask yourself this, hey, where am I currently? Where am I right now giving these repeated warnings instead of taking action? Where does this seem to happen? Is it a certain individual on the team maybe even? Maybe ask yourself, what standard have I communicated, but I don't consistently enforce it? Well, if that's you, you either got to change the standard or you got to flex some leadership muscle. Not emotional, not harsh. Very clear, very firm. This is what teams want. This is what they need. They're not going to broadcast this to you. Because at the end of the day, credibility is built in what you say. Yeah, maybe that's true. But you want to know what it's defined by? What you're willing to address. What you say, no doubt. I'm not going to make an argument here. What you say matters. But what you're willing to address and what you're willing to uphold will define your leadership impact. Listen, I hope this episode challenged you to grow in your leadership impact, maybe in a way that you haven't. Maybe there's a leader in your life that you're like, man, this is the thing. This is the thing that they need to hear. The greatest compliment and the greatest way that you could say thank you for anything that I'm doing with this show is to share this content with other people. I am grateful that you joined in today. And I hope this one challenged some people listening, because your leadership legacy and the balance and the potential of the people that you're leading, it's in the balance. Until next week, let's stop counting to 3 and let's keep turning that pressure into potential.
The Champion Forum Podcast with Jeff Hancher. Lead, inspire, win.